Hi, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Immigration Lawyers Podcast. As you know, the immigration system itself, whether it's Department of State, USCIS, Department of Labor, constantly just make changes without notifying anybody. And we always find out when there's only a little bit of time left or just at the last second. And one of those changes happened recently with Department of Labor. So I wanted to discuss it. I'm here with Roman Zelichenko discussing these changes. Roman practices immigration law and is an immigration tech expert, so I thought it'd be a good person to talk because it's technology related. Roman, why don't you tell me a little about yourself, then jump into it about the changes were.
Yeah, thanks for having me on here, John. So a little bit about myself. I did practice immigration law for a bit, and I focused on H-1B visas, worked high volume, and essentially realized that there were some issues with the process around H-1B visas. Particularly, at least from my perspective, it was around LCA posting, public access files, sort of that Department of Labor compliance piece. And perhaps I should have gone to business school instead of law school, but I think a fire was lit inside me, and I realized that rather than just practicing law, I wanted to create something from a technological perspective that would hopefully enhance the practice of law for not just myself, but for other practitioners around the country. So today, I am the CEO and founder of Laborless. It is a platform that automates LCA posting, public access file management. We're a startup, but we're definitely growing. And I think with the recent interest in automation of the LCA process, it's been a really, really great time to be where we are.
So this actually then is like really segues into the changes were because it affects how you process things. So what are the changes the Department of Labor instituted?
Yeah, so traditionally what immigration law firms or whoever starts the H-1B process, traditionally what they do is they go into a system called iCert, which the Department of Labor has put out that you can get your prevailing wage determination through, which is essentially kind of the wage that the Department of Labor says is at least the minimum wage that a company has to pay given a certain geographical area, given a certain job title, right? So that's a really important piece for the H-1B, for H-2Bs, et cetera. And then there's also a form, at least for the H-1Bs, called the Labor Condition Application, the LCA. And that's something that companies have to fill out, and they submit it to the Department of Labor to essentially show, we're looking to hire a foreign national, here's what we're going to pay them, here's where they're going to work geographically, here's the title they're going to assume, and here's how long we want them to work for. And Department of Labor has to essentially look through that and make sure that everything is okay. At the same time, companies have to post that LCA at the affected work site to notify their employees. So right now, this iCert system that D.O.L has is really key. You must go through it in order to create this LCA form, and if needed, in order to get a prevailing wage determination. And what's happened is, I can go on forever about this, so definitely stop me at any point if I'm saying too much or for clarity. But I guess what's happened is that the Department of Labor just recently, within the last basically few weeks, finally publicly announced that they're kind of swapping this iCert system for something they're calling FLAG, the Foreign Labor Application Gateway. And what they're doing is they're going to be phasing out this iCert system, at least for some sectors of the immigration sort of visa space. They're going to be phasing it out, and they're going to be essentially instituting this new system. Now, the issue with this is wonderful in general. They put out a little bit of information. They put out a slide deck that talks in really high level what the purpose for this is. And obviously a lot of it is that their current system is quite old and it's not scalable, and it doesn't provide a really good user experience. And, presumably people have been asking for a better experience. And so what they're saying is that this new system will be better. But of course, I've worked in the tech side too, right? Outside of being a lawyer. And anytime a really, really large scale technological change is put in place, there has to be sort of what's called change management, right? There has to be a period of time where you notify people, where you train them really well, where you explain to them why they have to be using the system, what the benefits are. And it really feels like D.O.L is just not doing that.
So, I mean, they essentially claim that they started publicizing this last year, but not really.
Exactly. So this is the crazy thing. If you read the slide deck that they put out, it actually says that this site went public in December of 2018. There wasn't any functionality yet, but the site went public. And you can argue that, well, there wasn't any functionality yet, and so why would they tell everyone about it? But I think the idea is that you should be telling people about it, especially before it's usable, because you need people to ask you the right questions. You need people to start wrapping their heads around how it might affect their practice. You need people to essentially understand where the practice is going forward. And they came out with it in December 2018, and they didn't publish, as far as I could tell. I mean, I did some pretty deep Googling, and as far as I could tell, they didn't publish anything about it until basically April or May.
And so they're actually going to be shutting down the previous system in a week or so?
So they're going to be shutting down some functionality for the current system. Right now, there's a form called ETA 9141. It's a prevailing wage determination form that is, that you can submit through iCert, the current system, and the new flag system. Their website says, "Hey guys, June 10th, this system is going live with this new form," or not the new form, but it's going live with this form. Oh, and by the way, that same exact day, we're completely shutting down this form's functionality in the current system, which is next Monday. And right now we're talking on June 6th, so it's just in a couple of days. And B, I understand that they might not want overlap between one system and the other, but it seems just messy at best to have absolutely no time frame in which users can at least even play with the system, maybe submit some fake versions of the form, etc.
So this is, I mean, for H-1B season, that's going to be next year, but for the cap exempt people like university and stuff, they're going to try to access it next week and all of a sudden be like, hey, it's not working, and then look into it. And then is that what's going to happen?
To some degree. I mean, so prevailing wage determinations are, they do affect H-1Bs as well as some of the other visas. There's going to be some work for non-cap subject folks with this. But I think the biggest issue is the fact that they are, D.O.L is actually going to be migrating the LCA itself, which is very key to H-1B applications. They say between October and December. Now, that's in a handful of months, so perhaps it's not a big deal. But the truth is that nobody's talking about it. So would we not know for another 2-3 months? Right? Because the LCA is needed for cap exempt, for cap subject, right? For E3s, for H-1B1s. So that is the really, really high volume piece here. And this is kind of what's been on my mind, because, cap season is really busy, but cap season is also the time where absolutely everybody says, we are not trying anything new right now, right? We have to get through this volume. So let's just do things as they are. And then next year, start thinking about automation, et cetera. But when the government is forcing essentially a new technology on you at a time when you're already at your busiest, to me, that's sort of a recipe for disaster. Hopefully not, but
yeah. It's just so funny how they do stuff. If it wasn't sad, but thank you so much. Is there anything you want to add about what's going on with the process with these changes?
The one thing that I would add is that, so I only found out about this a couple of days ago. And as somebody who's been very much in the D.O.L specifically tech space, I was surprised that I hadn't heard of it either. I wrote about it and I'm sharing it with all of my colleagues and friends, attorney friends, HR friends, immigration friends. I guess the one thing I would say was, I think we should demand more, I guess, of the government. I don't mean that in a really, really grandiose way, but, they have a tech team, right? They have D.O.L liaisons. They have people who get input from practitioners, which is probably why they even started creating this system in the first place, or at least partly why. I think that immigration lawyers, as sort of a bar altogether, should put a little bit more pressure and say, look, we really appreciate this. We need technological advances, but let's also do it in a smart way, right? Let's not do it just for the sake of doing it. Let's make sure if you, the government, are spending our tax dollars to roll out a new system, that we're doing it in a way that's going to be rolled out smoothly, where there are going to be as few bumps in the road as possible. And that's actually going to elevate the practice rather than frustrate people and cause a lot of confusion. So, my thing would be use our voices and just, try to nudge the government in the right direction.
Yeah, I think one of my goals is to create a better interest group that could do this as opposed to existing ones, because existing ones aren't doing it. To kind of talk with them, have some, some way to get this information out and
Yep.
make things smooth, because it's going to help both sides. I was talking with some people within USCIS, and they say like all these changes that happen, sometimes they don't even know about it, and they find out last second as well. So it's like it's like confusion in the left and right and up and down everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, man, thank you so much for coming on, and I appreciate the information.
Yeah. Thank you, John. Appreciate it.